peanut.
He was such a sweetheart guy. Believe me.
Oh,
He
see?
used to come over every single night.
Sweetheart.
And during the summer season when all the peonies were in bloom, his grandmother used to pick this great big beautiful bouquet of peonies for Jim to bring. And he had to walk, 3 miles to get to the house.
And through the
And
snow.
carried that beautiful bouquet of peonies for your mother every time he came over to
I
the
remember
house.
that.
And then she'd be laying on the floor watching television. And this
No,
guy would
I
be,
watched on the floor. She sat up on a chair. She wouldn't give me a chair.
and he would be so patient. You know, he'd be there to visit her and everything. And no, she'd be on the floor because there she'd be sitting in the middle of the floor in front of the TV, rolling up her hair in pink curls. And this guy was there to visit her. Do you think she'd be kind and chit-chat? I think no, she was in front of the TV making her pink curls.
Well, I had to do that before I went to bed because otherwise
Then she'd
he
say, okay,
never
Jim.
knew when to go home.
That's right. Then she'd say, all right, Jim, it's time to go home now.
And he'd walk all the way back home in the
Yeah.
dark.
That's
I'll
right.
tell
He
that
was
way,
such
too.
a sweet-natured guy. He would get up and quietly go, and he'd walk all that way home in the dark.
That's right.
Boy, was that nice.
What
He
changed?
was.
Oh, dear.
I can't believe it.
You got to remember that women were different to me. I was an only child, and there were no cousins, no brothers, no sisters, no anything else. So to come into a family where there were girls
Yeah, there were 3 of us.
and to watch girls do what they girls do at that age was fascinating.
Mm.
Fascinating.
And Aunt Carolyn and Janet used to wrestle with him.
Oh,
Yes.
I know. That's right.
So they'd wrestle.
I don't
And,
remember this.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, they'd wrestle. Just as,
You don't wrestle with
Just like the
girls.
Well,
Yes,
you
you
certainly
used to
wrestled with your girls.
yeah.
Well, that's different.
Well,
Those are my
well,
kids.
Well, what were we?
Well, you were young kids.
That's right.
Right.
Because when did you start going out? With 16, Lucia?
Yeah, yeah,
So I was 4 years younger.
right.
Close the blind.
What are you doing?
No, get the light. Can you get the light that's out there?
Yeah? You want to turn it on?
Yeah, can you bring it in here?
No, we're not going to bring it in here.
It's too dark.
You'll catch it.
It keeps flashing light.
Is it not enough?
So when did you first meet Dad?
When did she first meet me?
It's not enough. It's not enough light.
It'll be enough.
For us?
Sure.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think Peggy brought Jim home for quite a while. In the first place, Poppy wasn't very receptive to any males at all. So I think it was a while before she really brought him home. And then, you know, it was Poppy was growling.
I can remember that.
Well,
No.
he didn't want any of his girls to
That's
have,
right.
have a boyfriend.
Right. He
That's
didn't want-
right,
That's
yeah.
right.
He always said we were always too young.
Right.
Whenever a boy came,
Right.
yeah.
Well, how many times did you ever go out? Because I can remember whenever I would go out on a date or anything, when I came out, and he had to be home before 12 o'clock,
Mhm.
11 o'clock or something
Yeah.
like that. He'd be standing at that door with the door wide open, waiting for you
That's right.
as you pulled into the driveway.
He was always awake.
That's right.
When I
It wasn't
came in.
Nana, it was Poppy
Yeah.
that was awake, standing there.
Yeah, he was always waiting to make sure you got in
Mhm.
safely. And,
Always.
hmm
Well, he stopped worrying about me, though.
Oh, do you
When?
think so? Oh,
Yeah,
dear.
like, never used to. I don't remember him waiting for me.
No, it
No, he
got to
wasn't
be.
waiting for you.
For us.
He was waiting for you. You didn't know it, but he was there.
That's
he was
right. Lots
inside.
of times he'd be inside that door.
Yeah.
And
Or upstairs
It
and
was always
waiting.
Poppy that was awake.
Yeah.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
Now what?
Where was their wedding?
Fireman's exempt, is that where
Yeah,
it was?
that was
Where
the
the
reception.
Maybe.
St. Margaret Mary's Church.
What do you remember about that day?
It was a cold day. It
I
snowed in the
remember-
morning.
I really don't. I just remember Betty being there.
Jim's fraternity brothers from school.
Oh, yeah, that's
Who
right.
was your maid of honor and your best man?
Betty was the maid of honor, and Fred Reidenbach was Daddy's.
Who was Fred Reidenbach?
Fraternity.
He was a fraternity
Mhm.
friend,
Which
yeah.
frat?
Kappa Sigma.
So, Betty and of course came up from New Jersey because she was still in New Jersey. Well, actually, she was at Kingston in training, but she came up.
Yeah,
with-
Training for
She was training
nursing?
for. She was training for a nurse, and so she came up with her father and mother because they were going to come up anyway.
My roommate, Bob
Bob Stafford.
Stafford, was one of my ushers.
Roommate with mom.
Yeah, right.
I got it.
And
My shot.
who was the other?
Lee Richardson.
No. Who was the?
Oh, dear.
No, you guys got in touch with him for our 40th anniversary.
I can't remember. I can't remember.
Not Peggy. I can't remember.
You know, the thing that I always regret is when they went to England, and you were in England for 3 years in the service, and you kept running, come on over and visit, come, we'll see Europe.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a mistake.
That was a mistake not to come. I
Right,
know
I
it.
should have done it, because I could have done it, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Well, your parents should have come.
Yeah.
And everybody should have come because the fares at that time were not that
No,
expensive.
that's right, and as long as you have a base to go places from,
Right.
it's a heck of a
You
lot
had a place
cheaper.
to stay. You had a place where you could eat,
Right,
and it was in an easy hour drive
Right.
from London
That's right.
or any place in
Right.
England. It was an hour and a
that
half.
was something I
And
really
but they
regretted.
never. Well, of course, they were.
Times were different then,
Yeah.
but I don't know. but-
And it was Janet was having troubles
Yeah.
too. So
How old were you when they got married?
4 years younger.
yeah, you were about 16.
Okay.
Janet was 14.
Where did you guys used to go on dates?
To the movies. You hopped the bus and went to the movies. Or
What kind of movies?
Soda shop.
Right.
or up to Titus Avenue to
Yeah.
the soda shop,
Right, the ice cream
or
parlor.
whatever it was.
Right.
And also we used
Then
to
you
go to
had
the school
school-
activities.
School activities,
sports,
you had basketball
Movies.
games on Friday nights. that
Dances.
everybody used to go to.
dances, yeah.
Your father was a star athlete. Remember, he was
Oh,
in
yeah.
basketball and he was in football. He was All-American.
Oh,
So-
wait a minute.
Dad, you didn't play basketball.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes,
he
he
did.
did.
You did?
He was a letter man.
Yeah,
Mhm.
4-letter man.
The,
3-letter man? 4-letter man? What? 3-letter?
Well, I played football, and immediately after football came basketball. And I couldn't get out of the roughhouse mode, so when they get into a basketball game that got a little rough, the coach would put me in to knock some bodies around, and I'd knock bodies around and get 4 fouls. and I'd come out.
And you played baseball.
And baseball.
And you wrestled.
No, I didn't.
No, we didn't have wrestling.
Oh, you didn't
We
wrestle.
didn't have
No.
wrestling.
We didn't have hockey, we
Didn't have
wrestling,
soccer,
Yeah.
soccer,
None
Well,
of
soccer's
that.
not American.
tennis we
golf.
didn't have.
golf.
Yeah, we just had the 3 basic.
So he was a
Physical.
three-letter man.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of movies did you go see?
The movies
ones.
that you're watching on
Right, the
tape.
good ones that are so
AMC.
delightful.
Singing in the Rain and
Right.
Pillow talk.
Right.
Doris
Doris
Day
Day movies.
and
Alfred Hitchcock.
Alfred Hitchcock movies.
Rear Window.
Rear Window, yeah, Alfred Hitchcock. But the movies that you rent when you go to the video store.
Or see in your Reminisce magazine.
Yeah.
What did you wear?
Broomstick skirts, bobby socks,
And then Mother used to make, what did Mother make you? A whole bunch of these cigarette dresses or whatever?
squad dresses.
No, the straight dresses that
Oh,
were
a sack dress.
sack dresses.
A sack dress.
And they just were a straight piece of material with the arms cut out.
Yeah,
And she used to embroider things on them.
yeah.
And the boys in college used to wear,
Dungarees.
No, you couldn't wear
these,
dungarees at
these,
that time.
Oh,
and lighter gray bucks
yeah.
Yeah,
shoes.
right.
We used to wear dungarees. We call them dungarees. You call them jeans. But we always rolled them up to about here with mid calf, and Then we had the bobby socks and the
I
moccasins.
never remember
the Indian
wearing
moccasins.
jeans at school. We were never
No,
allowed
not in
to.
school.
Okay, we were never allowed
No,
to
we
wear
weren't
jeans
allowed
at
to in
school.
school.
You
No.
wore skirts to school.
Right, always. But after school,
Yeah.
or on the weekends, we,
Paddle pusher kind of thing.
yeah.
When
And
were you
Indian
allowed to wear
moccasins.
makeup?
Huh?
When were you allowed to wear makeup?
Not until high school.
Right.
Then we only wore powder and lipstick.
And another thing that that you don't think much about is that the blue laws were on then. So no store was open on a Sunday, and Poppy,
Nothing was open.
right, and Poppy on Sunday morning would turn on classical music, and that's what we woke up to, and then he would make breakfast, and then you went to church, but you did no activities, because it was the day of religion.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Well, it was a quiet day.
Right.
Right.
I mean, you didn't go off to do any big activities. And his favorite thing was to take us all for a ride someplace in the suburbs someplace. you
Yeah,
know?
we would go
Remember
past
those
the farms.
horrible rides? We
Yeah.
sent the car bored out of our minds.
Yeah. We used to moan and
That's
groan.
right.
Can't we go
That's
home?
right.
And Poppy would say, look at all the
That's right.
scenery.
Sunday
This beautiful
afternoon
scenery.
car
Yeah,
rides
it's
were
not
a tradition.
Yeah.
And
And
everybody
when
sounds
World
good.
War II started, December 7th, 1941, my family was out for a Sunday afternoon car ride.
Ours too. We were
And we
too.
heard about the bombing of Pearl Harbor on the car radio.
So did we.
And then we came home, and we all wondered what was going to happen next, who was going to go to war, and what was going to happen, and all that stuff. Like John F. Kennedy, when he was assassinated, I'll never forget that
Yeah.
day. It was amazing.
But we were too. We were riding in the car, and it was a cold day because it was a Saturday and a Sunday in December.
You guys
Yeah.
were about 10 years old?
And no, in 1940, yeah, we were 10 years old in 1941. Just going on 10 years.
And I'll tell you something, when we went to college, fraternities were not only social clubs, but they were training centers to teach you how to act socially, how to do the right thing.
Etiquette?
Yes.
Yeah, how to
They
do
still
the
are.
right thing. No,
Not really. They're like Animal House.
I don't, yeah,
like animal
exactly.
houses. I mean, I go back to my fraternity,
Kappa
it
Delta-
looks like a wreck,
That's because you saw it in the summer. Kappa Delta Rho has its own etiquette book.
is it?
They get tested on it.
Oh,
They have to dress smooth for dinner. They're not allowed to start eating until everybody's been served. They're not allowed to talk cross tables. There are some fraternities that are still social. I mean
Well, I
civil.
hope so, because some of those manners are pretty important.
Yes, they are. And that's what we've lost a lot of
Mhm.
well, we had people from all different stratas of society. We had people, well, we had the guy whose father owned Don Q Rum down in Puerto Rico.
Mhm.
We had Texas oil millionaire sons. And we had me, who didn't have a darn thing.
Mhm.
And they were all mixed in together. Every different level of society. And we all learned from each other, different things. But we all learned from each other.
How come you got in the fraternity then if you weren't wealthy? Did you decide to
didn't have
join
to
or
be.
you were
It's
asked
Well, you
to
didn't
join?
really have to be wealthy.
What?
You didn't have to be wealthy to get
No,
into
no,
a
no, no.
fraternity.
You were,
You just were nominated, or what do
somebody
you call it?
nominated you. I
Yeah.
don't know who nominated me to this one, but
Mhm.
I think it was because of athletics that I got pledged or something. And
Yeah.
finally they asked me to join.
So you graduated from high school in 49,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Rundercoit High. And that's the one that burned down at the
That's
corner
the old
of,
one, right?
the
I
corner
think
of,
they tore it down.
They
no?
tore it
no,
down.
it burned down.
No, it burned.
Did it
Yeah.
burn eventually? But it was long,
Do you have an alibi
Empty.
that
Oh,
night?
yeah.
Yes,
thought
it
it was
was
your
empty
senior year.
long for time before they took it down.
they had
Yeah.
already
Right.
built a new high school.
They
Yeah.
built it right behind Nana's house, or in front
Right.
of Nana's house,
Right.
next to Reuben A. Day.
Yeah.
Right.
But weren't we the last class, the 49? No, the 50. Year 50
Because
year.
I was in there as a freshman, and
Yeah,
then my,
but graduated from.
yeah,
Alright.
right, and then my sophomore year I went to the new school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so it was 2 years
Thank you.
after us,
Yeah.
51 or something.
Right.
So then you got a scholarship a sports scholarship to go to Cornell, and your major was engineering,
Mhm.
and it was a 5-year program. And Mom, you were going to,
I went to work. I went to comptometer school.
Right.
I thought you
What's
were
that?
accepted at Casanova.
Yeah, I was accepted at several colleges, but I never went.
Right.
Poppy lost his job a couple of weeks after I graduated from high school.
Right.
And they felt that things were too upset. They didn't know what was going to go on. So I went to a school in the city of Rochester, which, like a business school. It taught business machines.
You know how like in a legal courtroom you have the stenographer taking it?
Yeah.
Well, it's similar to that. That's what
Well,
she had.
it's mathematical. It's mathematical. And it's
So how long was this program?
this schooling went, I think it was 9 months. And then I went out and I got a job in the Rochester Button Company.
I thought you started at Kodak.
No, I worked at the Button Company first and worked in their
Starvation wages.
in their
Yeah.
accounting. Well, my first job was $36 a week.
Mhm.
Boy, and that sounded like $1 million to me.
Right.
But
Well, she saved her money for 4 years, working at the Button Company and at Kodak. And that's what we used to get married in.
So did you have to contribute any money to the family
Yeah.
support?
yeah, I did
Yeah.
for two years.
And we bought our first trailer.
Can you remember that first green car? Was it an Oldsmobile that you?
No, it was a Ford.
Well,
Ford?
We bought a Ford when we were married.
Yeah.
Poppy bought that
Yeah,
Ford
I'm
for
sorry,
us.
Poppy bought it for us.
Yeah.
And that was our wedding present. And we drove that back and forth to school for a year and froze because the heater didn't work.
You could see the road, you know, at the bottom of it.
That was a 49 Ford, I think, and that was in '53. And then we traded it when we decided to pull the trailer. We traded that in for
An Oldsmobile.
the Oldsmobile.
Yeah.
Right.
That was also
That's
light
the one
green.
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Big Olds '98.
Yeah.
And we lived in the trailer the first year, or the last year of college, and pulled it out to Denver for, well, we worked for GE.
Well, we pulled it to Cincinnati while you worked at,
Cincinnati.
we both worked at GE while we were out there. And then he got his papers for the Air Force. And we
Was
pulled
that because of the Korean War that you got that?
No, I was in ROTC.
Yeah.
I remember you.
Is
were
that
in
how
that.
you paid for your school after you quit the football team?
No, I paid for my school by
The
working-
Ivy League
By-
does not
by
give
cash.
athletic scholarships.
That's
You're
right.
I
I
got
thought
a
that's how we got
scholarship
accepted.
from the Cornell Club of Rochester,
Yeah.
and
Otherwise, you paid for everything. There was
and
no,
that lasted
Right.
2
there
years.
were no loans
No
or
grants,
grants or.
right, all that.
The scholarship lasted 2 years, and then I started working washing dishes and waiting tables in the fraternity.
And also you worked summers and you saved
And
your
worked
money.
summers.
Yeah, where did you work in the summer?
Oh, all different places. Worked for Coca-Cola.
You were delivering?
That was a good time because when he worked for Coca-Cola, so he had to deliver all over these neat parks. So on the weekend, whenever he had off, he used to take us to these and a picnic, you know. And we used to have a really good
Go
time.
swimming
And
or-
go swimming and picnic time. But that was fun. But he had a lot of jobs. Didn't you work also? Did you work for?
He worked for Lowers too.
Yeah.
What's Lowers?
Furniture
Lowers was a
store.
furniture
Lowers
company.
Furniture. I worked for them last year of high school and the first year of college. Then I worked for Coca-Cola, and then last year after we were married, I worked for Gleason's Gear and did drafting up there. And then I worked as a draftsman also in my last year of college for Seneca Falls Tool Company or something like that. And so
How much did you make a week then?
peanuts.
Yeah.
Enough
really.
to.
It was like work study.
We often
intern.
say that there were many. We had our trailer the last year of college, and every week we would end up with change in our pockets, and that's all we had
Yeah,
between us
right.
and poverty.
But everybody was in the same boat. Their courses all went 5 years, the engineers.
Yeah.
So the
Almost everybody in my fraternity was in engineering, one
Right.
kind or another. And for some reason or other, we almost all decided to get married during our 5th year, or be married for our 5th year.
Mhm.
So we all lived in small little apartments. We lived in a trailer, and another couple had a little room here. And so we would go visiting back and forth,
And we were all pinching the penny.
Yeah.
pinching pennies. We'd act as chaperones for the parties of the fraternity, and it wouldn't pay us anything, but at least it got us into the parties for nothing.
Yeah, we didn't have to pay for the parties.
And
Oh, that's the blind leading the blind.
Well,
You as a chaperone,
Yeah.
you were drinking them under the table.
well, I did have a certain reputation.
This is the chaperone.
We pulled the trailer to Cincinnati,
Which do?
and in Cincinnati, I worked in the research lab, the ignition research lab, the
Yeah.
burner lab, because that's what my thesis was in college. And Mom worked in accounting and payroll at GE there also. We pulled the trailer from Ithaca to Cincinnati across the mountains,
Of Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. And we had a
Supposed to show
homemade,
you what the young will do.
Really? We were crazy.
well, we had a
No.
homemade hitch.
Yeah,
that was
Homemade.
they
was
made it
homemade.
in the Cornell lab.
There was a welding lab, and they jury-rigged a hitch for us. I didn't know anything about it. And as we went along, the car kept
Yeah.
bouncing and hitting the pavement like that because it was no support in the back. And we got all the way to Cincinnati that way.
I don't know how, but we did.
So anyway, we lived in near Evendale, Ohio. Had a great summer. Mom's mother and my grandmother both came to visit us. And when my grandmother came to visit us, she bought us a proper hitch for the big trailer. And then the Air Force called. This was after the first 3 months assignment in Cincinnati. And the Air Force had us going into the Air Force in Geneva. It used to be
Seneca Depot.
Seneca Depot. And so I reported for duty there in September of '54. And then they sent us out to Denver. So we pulled the trailer all the way out to Denver and almost lost a wheel on the way out. You remember hearing about that? You didn't hear about that? Oh, Lord.
We
Well,
we traveling along, and all of a sudden we're hearing clunk, 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 clunk. And we said, gee, what's that? He stopped the car and he looked all around the trailer wheels. He looked all around the car wheels. He looked at the back end of the trailer. He looked at the hitch. Nothing. So we got in the car and we could hear clunk, 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 clunk. And he said, well, the faster you go, the less you hear it. So we started to go faster.
That's an engineer.
Kept going fast, we're thinking, well, if you can't, if you keep going fast, you don't hear it. And it was fine, we kept going, but we didn't hear it much until a great big trailer truck came up.
Intermountain
behind us.
Express.
One of those great big double trailer things. And he's blinking his lights and honking his horn and everything. And Jim said he thought he wanted to pass. So he slowed down a little bit, and then all of a sudden we were hearing clunk, 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 clunk again. And as the guy went past us,
Well, no, he never did go past us, because we got into a small town and I pulled over
Oh,
and he
that's
pulled
right.
up behind
and
us.
he pulled up beside us
Behind
and
us.
behind us and got out of the trailer truck and came up and told Daddy that the back wheel was wobbling and that we should have something done because it was going to give us some kind of an accident or. And we didn't know anything about it, because as I said, the faster we went, the less we heard it, so we thought everything was
So 90
fine.
was good.
But he really saved our lives,
Yeah.
because we could have had a terrible accident if the wheel had come off the trailer and
Yeah.
pulled us with it, because it was,
So anyway, we were out in Denver and going to
No.
armament school.
no, you didn't tell him about stopping at having the lights go out.
Oh yeah, I told Jim the other night that in Indiana, when we were passing through northern Indiana by South Bend and so forth, there was a huge rainstorm, and we had to slow down and go over to the side, and we lost a lot of time because of the rainstorm. So as it started to get dark, we said we'd make up some of the time we lost, so we kept going and turned the lights on. And we were going down, they didn't have expressways at that time, it was a secondary highway. And all of a sudden, all the lights on the whole trailer and car went out at the same time.
And it was
Oh.
pitch black.
Well,
Yes.
when I edged over to the side of the road, fortunately about a half mile back or so, there was a truck stop with a gas station. And I walked back there, and the guy came out with his wrecker, turned all his blinking lights on, and guided us back to the truck stop. And in a very short period, 10 minutes or something, he had found a short in one of the short little wires to the back license plate light,
Oh my goodness.
and he fixed it. So we said, well, we'll stay here tonight. Big open parking lot for the trailers and the trucks. So we pulled over where we thought was a nice quiet area. We got in our bedroom, got into bed, and big, huge trucks started to come in. One come behind
Big
behind
lights.
us,
First of all, you see the big lights pointing at
and
you
they'd
through the
come
window.
beside us, they'd come behind us, they'd come in front of us. There was a train, busy train tracks across the street. There were buses going down the highway and trucks. And there was an airport somewhere nearby, because the airplanes kept landing. And we didn't know what was going on, but we slept some. Got up the next morning and we were in a sea of huge trailer trucks.
We were like a needle in a haystack, this little trailer and all these big, huge trailer trucks all around us, parked every which way, all surrounding us.
So anyway, we finally got to Denver. Spent about 9 months learning armaments on aircraft.
Oh, we had some good times in Denver.
Met a lot of nice people from the Republic of Taiwan. I don't know if it was called Taiwan at that time,
Yeah,
but the Chinese under Chiang Kai-shek were off on the island of, I guess it's Taiwan,
Yes.
and they would send their Air Force people to Denver to train them. So we met a lot of nice people that way, and people in the regular Air Force.
and also there was several of his fraternity brothers that were
Yeah.
also sent there.
Oh.
So,
That's
no,
nice.
no, Lee
What's his
Richardson
name?
and Bill Burdick were also sent with
Couple
us.
Who's
of
the
it.
guy who used to live on Lyle? Lyle Avenue.
I don't know, Carl, you talking about Carl Pfeiffer?
Yeah.
Well, Carl Pfeiffer was Daddy's roommate in school, but after graduation, we didn't see him again. We went to different places.
Well,
Don't
anyway,
put in the cards, Lisa.
And,
Okay.
with our education, 5 years of engineering at Cornell, the stuff that they were teaching us was like 2 + 2 = 4.
in the Air Force, you mean?
Yeah, and
At least
so,
it was correct.
Yeah. So these other guys, well, there was one fellow that was a career Air Force captain. He didn't even know beans about school learning. He was a pilot and all sorts of stuff, but he didn't know beans about that. So I would tutor him. And as I said, we looked like geniuses when they started to teach us this stuff. But anyway, we did graduate. And for the top of the class, they asked us where we wanted to go for our first time. And I said, Europe. And that's where they sent us.
Yeah.
So we sold our trailer out there. And
We had sold the trailer before that,
oh,
though.
that's right. We sold the trailer before that and moved into a little apartment.
We couldn't afford the trailer anymore on Air Force salary,
And
and I didn't have a job out there.
we bought a little white dog named Tamashatter
Yeah.
and raised him as a puppy, and he was the hardest thing to potty train I've ever seen.
What about 5 kids?
Well, he was harder than them, any of them.
Jay was harder than Tam.
He didn't like to, we bought him, of course, it was cold weather, and he didn't like to go outside. So he'd only go out the door, and on the back step would be where he'd leave his roster for the day. And of course, we lived in an apartment, and other people would be going in and out, you know. But we could never get him to go out farther and walk him around. He wouldn't walk out there because it was cold.
Well, I never forget the Chinese Air Force guys. Didn't have cars, of course. And I had this big Olds 98, so I'd pick them up and take them to school and back home again.
By the way, when they'd go to school, it was 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, no, it wasn't quite that early, but we started school at 6.
No, it was earlier than that, because by six,
Oh, we had to be in class and spick and span by 6.
you know,
6 to 12.
right.
They ran 4 shift
That's right.
classes. 6 to 12, 12 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 6. And I had seat covers on the back of the seat, and they would slide across it and get big joy out of putting their finger to the metal handles and watch the spark jump across there. That was a big
Mine?
thrill.
It was big, dark mornings.
And I
But then
remember-
they'd come home at noon, and we'd have the rest of the day, you know, and they'd get together and we'd visit back and forth and all that. But we'd be in bed early at night because you have to get up 5 o'clock in the morning.
Well, I had idle hands, so I started building model airplanes. And this friend of mine was a model airplane flyer, and he took me out to try to teach me how to fly this model airplane one time. I could never learn it, but he said, the heck with this, let's go see how fast your car will go. So we went out in the boondocks in Colorado and just put it on the floor and let it go as fast as it would go. And inched up, I think it got to 98 miles an hour, and that's as fast as it would go. I kept waiting for the wheels to fly off or something.
Oh, where was it where you used to drink too much and then you used to go through the narrow gate?
That was in
England.
England. Well, they sent us over to
No, it
England.
was
I'm glad you know all these good things about him. Only the best role model, right?
Hey, we turned out pretty good.
Well, on the average.
Oh, gosh.
There's ups and downs. Well, they sent us over to Europe and
The funny part of it was
England.
the married couples got good assignments,
Mm-hmm.
and the one bachelor in the group got
South
sent
Dakota.
he got sent to the middle of Idaho where there was nothing. I mean, he was going to live the big high life, you know. He was the only bachelor in the bunch, so he was going to have a real good time. They sent him to Idaho, in the middle of nothing. There was Mountain Home, Idaho. So the rest of us got sent over. We went overseas.
The Fowlers go.
The Fowlers went back to Rome. Rome, New York. They got back into Rome, New York.
Well, remember the camel saddle that you used to
Yeah.
have?
Yeah.
What did you ever do with that?
Give it to the Salvation Army.
Because do you know when I was down at the mall this winter, they had one.
Did they, Ron?
Right, they had it in an antique shop. They had an
Yeah.
old camel saddle.
Yeah.
Well,
We kept it for a footstool for many
Yeah.
years.
when we were over in England,
It was a great wrestling.
they had the officers were big party boys.
Yeah.
And many of them were pilots, most of them were pilots, and they would live for today, actually. They
Yeah.
lived for today because they never know if they were gonna have an accident and die tomorrow.
Right.
Literally.
Right, I know.
And many of them did.
Right.
Well, we got transferred to a temporary base up north in England shortly after we got over there. And our squadron was the visiting squadron on a bomber base. And there was always great rivalry between the fighter squadron and the bomber squadron. Who was the better, who could do things faster, better, and so forth. And we would give a party for the whole bomber squadron, and they would give a party for us at the officers' club on a Saturday night. And needless to say, I would drink a little more than I should have.
Needless to say.
And Peggy would start to drive home, and we'd have another couple in the back seat, and I'd say, Peggy, I'm not going to make it home, and she would stop the car, and I'd get out and go out behind the car and wheelie all over the road. And then she would get to our house, and she'd say, Jim, I can't get this car in the driveway. So I would get in, drunk as I was, and it was in the garage. And the next day, I never even knew that I had done that.
The driveway was very small because British cars were
Small.
very much smaller than American
Right.
cars. And so it had two gate posts right at the beginning of the driveway, and they were so tiny. I never did daylight or nighttime. I could never get the car maneuvered into that through those gate posts. One time I tried it, and one side of the car had this color. One was red, one was green, by the way, the post. And this side of the car one time had the green paint scraped on it, and this side of the car another time had the red paint scraped where I had tried to get through. So I just knew I couldn't get in there. So I'd drive right up to the driveway facing it, and I'd say, you gotta take it into the driveway because I can't do it. And he always got it right through. And I never knew how he did it, but he always did it.
Well, also, most of the American cars were big things with
Yeah.
left-hand side driving on the left. And almost every one of them, including ours, had some ding on the upper right front of the car. A smash in, their lights were off, or something. Because they were constantly hitting things on the right front.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it was a good time. And
what was your position and what you were in the Air Force?
yes,
This is 54 after the Korean War.
this was 55
Okay, 55.
and 56 and 57. And you were born in 57.
Mm-hmm. 54, 55, and 56.
You're right.
Yeah, you came back
You were
in
born in
November of
56.
56.
Mhm.
You were in the Air Force. What was your title, or position? What were you doing over there?
What was your rank?
Oh, I was
Started as second lieutenant.
second lieutenant, promoted to first lieutenant. I was the armament officer for the squadron's fighter bombers. And I had charge of the nuclear weapons, the machine guns, the bullets, and any armaments, and assists to either bombing or aiming guns and the guns themselves. And there were about 50 airmen who worked to maintain these on the aircraft, and they all worked for me.
And where were you positioned in England?
Oh, well, we started just north of London in a place called Wethersfield. And we were there just about a month, and they moved our whole squadron up north to a place named Sculthorpe, which was the bomber
It was
squadron,
close to the Wash,
close
where-
to the Wash
where
and the North
Queen Elizabeth has her,
Sea. Sandwich.
castle, Sandringham.
What's the wash? That's right.
Well, the Wash is a
It's like a
square,
big bay.
square
into the-
bay
from the
into
North
the
Sea.
north part of England. The North Sea is right there. And we lived right on the coast, right to the west of the Wash. What was the name of that little town?
Wayburn.
Wayburn, yeah. Not too far from Nottingham, not Nottingham.
Sherwood Forest?
Sandringham.
Yeah,
Sandringham.
Well, Sandringham was close, but it was Norwich. We were not far from Norwich and
Norwich,
Hunstanton. Hunstanton was
Yeah.
the,
so anyway,
that's it, Missy.
that's it.
Goodbye, Missy.
There's
Goodbye, that's it. Turn it off.
Information dialogue to end.
Yeah.
Will you tell them what Grandma gave you?